So recently I made a video concluding my thoughts on the winter 2016 season. On checking the comments and suggestions left on the video, I noticed that one anime in particular kept popping up. One I hadn't even checked out yet, a kind of dark horse of the season. It was KonoSuba, a kind of bright, dumb looking show that my brain has learned to completely glance over. But thanks to the recommendations left on the video, I did watch the first episode, and some hours later I finished the last. Almost in one sitting I sat through a whole show that normally I would struggle to brave 5 minutes of. And I have to say I had an extremely pleasant experience with KonoSuba, even going back to rewatch a few of my favourite episodes. And this wasn't just the kind of fluff enjoyment that sometimes happens. I felt a real depth to my experience that I hadn't had with this sort of show in a long time. There was a definite reason to KonoSuba's charm that passes raw enjoyment and arouses a more thoughtful conclusion. But merely thinking back on my experience wasn't enough to pinpoint exactly where KonoSuba surpasses its myriad of counterparts, why KonoSuba manages to hold my attention easily for 10 episodes while other similar works struggle with 10 minutes. I wanted to use this video to really understand KonoSuba, really unravel one of the best experiences I've had with anime in a number of seasons. So what exactly is KonoSuba? Well, what KonoSuba is and what it tells you it is are very different things, and that's kind of the underlying foundation of the series. It sets itself up as a kind of like fantasy, video game, comedy, blah 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 anime, an amalgamation of everything you've seen over the last 5 years. Colourful character designs, template protagonists, etc, etc. But this is just a vessel to deliver the show, which is an interesting choice because the show isn't just about parodying these genericisms. It uses them as a basis, a structure to build whatever it wants on. Sure, it does make fun of these elements, but it also builds upon the humour to create characters, a narrative and a world. 3 big players in the success of the show. So everything that works in KonoSuba runs from the skeleton of its smart setup. With the right amount of parody and individuality, it can run smoothly and grow into something far surpassing its initial roots. So the setup is established, but we still need to have a deeper look to see how it blossoms into a full series, how it transcends into more than just the idea we've established so far. One of the biggest and most obvious qualities I found while watching the series was the use of simplicity to invoke immersion. From the animation to the character designs, everything was very minimalistic. Just enough was done to create a personality, while leaving sufficient simplicity for the viewer to absorb almost everything in the show. Instantly I took in new characters and locations without having to really try. It just felt natural. This done wonders for the series as it could bounce around various characters and locations, creating different comedic moments without having to start fresh for every joke. It used these wonderfully pre-established motifs and traits to make every episode flow. The character designs, for example, I can put 4 colours on the screen, and having watched only a few episodes of KonoSuba, you'll know exactly who they are, what their personality traits are, and how they interact with each other. Again, a very basic setup, primary colours, simple designs, developed with complex and well-delivered intricacies that let the viewer easily digest the complicated elements of the series. I remember being surprised at how much I knew about the characters without them really explaining anything or having drawn out dialogue for development. The characters just grew naturally using this technique of simplicity. It really worked fantastically and opened so much doors for the series. The world of KonoSuba alludes to being massive with endless possibilities for exploration, yet the series never actually ventures that much into its world or its lore. It's like an illusion that makes you feel part of a massive world without having to sit through loads of explanation and backstory. The world is revealed enough to make you feel immersed, but kept relatively simple as to not overcrowd the series. A similar effect is used in the general narrative. Again, a lot is alluded to, loads of different strands of long stories, yet none of this is actually used in the show. It's there to give everything structure and purpose, but the story has no intention of offering any completion. Instead, we get to fully focus on the small activities our characters do and the charming comedy that comes with them. Slowing the pace down really lets the viewer again immerse themselves into the show. You really have time to settle into the world. Now, all these techniques build the bulk of KonoSuba, but it's the basic elements that really glue everything together. The simple ones like the show's well-suited comedy or the small character interactions. These are what everything in the show builds towards, and to have so much going on to support such simple ideas is fantastic and really elevates their success. Ultimately, this is why I like KonoSuba. Yes, they could only work with everything I've mentioned, but it's the execution and delivery of the simplest aspects of the show that make it so engaging. The comedy is subtle and unintrusive, the characters are charming, it makes it so easy to watch episode after episode of a very uneventful story. It's the simplicity of everything that makes KonoSuba work so well. Post your thoughts about your experience with KonoSuba in the comments, and share some other shows that you feel had a similar effect. And if you enjoyed the video, you can help me out by clicking the like button and sharing it around. Cheers.